It's pretty obvious that Jokic is the best player in basketball right now, but for ESPN, for some reason, they can't wrap their head around that. Just look at what they had to say.
Is SGA the best player in the NBA right now?
For me, personally, I would still take Yoke, but I think he's having the best season. I mean, when you look at what he's done, the 4 50-point games, you look at he has the most 50-point games, the most 40-point games, the most 30-point games, and he scored at least 20 points in all of his games except 2.
Since when did basketball only become about scoring? Shannon Sharpe is just listing all of the numbers about scoring that Shai is getting and not the other stats. And there are other areas of the game besides that, and I gotta add, Jokic dominates in those other areas. I understand what Shannon Sharpe is trying to say. He's trying to say that Jokic is the best player in the world, but Shai deserves MVP because he's had the best season. Only problem with that is this is Jokic's best season so far. How could he win MVP in previous seasons but not this year if this season has been his best? That stance that Shannon Sharpe is taking makes it seem like Jokic is having a down year or something, which couldn't be further from the truth. Against the Suns, he became the first player to ever record a 30-20-20 game. He broke Wilt Chamberlain's 57-year record of 21 assists in a game, which for a long time was the most assists for a center in a game. Jokic ended up finishing the game with 31 points, 22 assists, and 21 rebounds. For a comparison, Wilt's stat line was 22 points, 25 rebounds, and 21 assists. That means Jokic got 9 more points while achieving the same feat. And he did that in today's modern era where, to be quite honest, there's tougher competition. Wilt Chamberlain wasn't playing the same level of players that Jokic is playing, and to break a Wilt Chamberlain record is a big deal. And no disrespect to SGA, but at what point is he going to beat a Wilt Chamberlain record? When is he going to have a 30-20-20 game? I just don't see it happening, especially this season. And to be fair, a lot of the reason why he's not going to get that is probably because he's a guard, and he's not going to be able to grab the same rebounds that Jokic can. But when it comes to assists, he should be able to do the same thing, right? If he's having the best season. But of course he can't, because he's not the same level of a playmaker as Jokic is. Plus, Shai has the better supporting cast, yet Jokic still gets more assists. Imagine if Jokic was able to play alongside Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams. He would have so much more opportunities to get more assists, and he's made it work with who he's got so far, so Jokic deserves respect for that. And to be clear, I have nothing wrong with anybody having SGA winning MVP. Because, to be honest, I had SGA winning MVP when the Thunder were the number 1 seed and Shai was carrying them without Chet Holmgren, and Jokic and the Nuggets were a play-in team. And so at that point, early in the season, I could understand not giving Jokic that award just because his team wasn't performing as well. But now, the Nuggets have jumped all the way towards the top of the West. Obviously, they're still not as good as the Thunder, but they're not a play-in team. They're a legitimate playoff team now. And so I feel like Jokic is still putting up the same stats, so he deserves some respect for winning the MVP award. And Shai, he hasn't been as dominant statistically, but he has the better team, but the margin has closed. They're becoming closer and closer, and so I think that is a good defense for Jokic why he should probably win MVP. And while Shannon Sharpe had something actually respectable to say, Kendrick Perkins, on the other hand, well, just let the video play.
Now let's have a bigger conversation here. Are we sure that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the league? Are we sure about that? Because I would have to argue, and I would have to say right now today, that LeBron James is the best player in the NBA.
I don't even know how he says this stuff with a straight face, because we all know LeBron has not been Jokic this entire season. He's been nowhere close. He had a good stretch of games, and now everybody wants to start calling him the best player in basketball. That's not how it works. Jokic has been consistently good for a much longer stretch of games, especially he's been a better player for multiple years. So we're not going to flip the script and start acting like that isn't the case. But you know what? I'm going to give Kendrick the benefit of the doubt, and maybe he has some reasoning that somewhat makes sense on how he arrived at this conclusion.
Here's why I said, The best player in the NBA gets it done on both ends of the floor. LeBron James is getting it done at the age of 40 on both ends of the floor at a high level.
I can agree that LeBron James has been really good for 40 years old, but not good enough to be the best in the league.
He could guard 1 through 5 defensively. I would argue if they need him to play the center position, he's the second best center in the Western Conference behind Nikola Jokic, especially with Anthony Davis and Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively being out for the Dallas Mavericks. What LeBron James is doing at a high level on both ends of the floor still to this day, I would have to say right now, he's the best player in the NBA.
How did Kendrick Perkins come up with the idea that LeBron James would be the best center outside of Jokic in the Western Conference? I can think of several players who play the center position better than LeBron. Domantas Sabonis is a name that comes to mind. Wemby, I know he's injured, but still, Wemby. Jaren Jackson Jr., who might win a Defensive Player of the Year award. There are so many other players outside of LeBron that play the center position better than him. Why would the Lakers be looking for a center after they traded away AD if LeBron was so good at playing the center position? Obviously, LeBron James is getting up in age, and he can't play the center position or all 5 spots like Kendrick Perkins thinks he can anymore. This is not prime LeBron James anymore. He can't guard 1 through 5 like he used to at the same level. Sure, his longevity has been really impressive, but like every player, he can't do the same things he could when he was younger. So I feel like Kendrick Perkins is just saying this because he doesn't want to give Jokic the credit that he deserves. Kendrick Perkins isn't even trying to hide it anymore. He doesn't want to give Jokic credit because calling LeBron James the best player in basketball right now is ridiculous. There are so many other names that he could list, like Giannis is a better player. LeBron isn't even the best player on his team right now. Luka is going to show that he's the better player. So how could LeBron James be the best player in basketball if he isn't even the best player on his own team, the Lakers? It doesn't make any sense. But these guys don't care about making sense, including Stephen A. Smith. He has never voted for Jokic when voting for MVP. That doesn't make any sense. I understand maybe this year you want to vote Shea, but you've never voted for Jokic in the past years where he's been clearly dominant. And Kendrick Perkins has also never voted for Jokic. Last year, he was the only MVP voter to have Jalen Brunson over Jokic. I'm sorry, but Jalen Brunson was not better than Jokic last year. I just don't understand, how is Kendrick Perkins still an MVP voter after making a decision like that? He's playing with these guys' legacy. That one extra MVP award could really help Jokic when it comes to these debates about who's the greatest center of all time. He's really in those conversations, and if Jokic wins his 4th MVP, people are going to have to start taking that very seriously, and he doesn't want Jokic to enter those conversations, so much so that he is coming up with dumb arguments. He's trying to act like LeBron is still just as solid of a two-way player as he was in his prime, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Before Luka arrived, LeBron was giving up on some plays. Now, all of a sudden, when he seems re-energized and starts giving more effort on that side of the ball, Kendrick wants to start acting like that was always the case. To be fair, I know Jokic isn't that great of a rim protector, but both LeBron and Jokic aren't the best defenders the league has to offer. But Jokic makes up for his defense in all the other areas of basketball. Overall, I think it's becoming obvious that they'll just come up with any excuse not to give Jokic the credit he deserves. But what do you think? What's Kendrick Perkins' beef with Jokic? Tell me in the comment section below. Until next time, peace.